Well, it's time to talk dairy. And if you live in the Chicagoland area, when you think of ice cream, milk, yogurt, ice cream pies, cakes, whatever, it's hard not to think of one name. That name, drum roll please, Oberweis. The Oberweis Dairy first got off the ground in 1915 by Peter Oberweis when Mr. Oberweis found out his dairy was producing too much milk. The Oberweis Dairy is proud to have been delivering dairy products to folks since 1927. The first ice cream and dairy store was started back in 1951 by Joe Oberweis, son of founder Peter Oberweis. Oberweis currently, as of this moment, has 41 ice cream and dairy stores and has started a new franchising opportunity with the potential of there being over 500 ice cream and dairy stores around the country. Well, currently, Oberweis ice cream and dairy stores are limited to the Chicagoland area, Northwest Indiana area, Bloomington area, St. Louis area. They will soon be expanding to the Detroit area, and soon the entire country. Of course, Oberweis ice cream, dairy, and all their products are available in 5 states. Oberweis Dairy features their famous ice cream parlors where you can enjoy a milkshake, banana split, malted ice cream soda, and an ice cream cone, as well as Oberweis' entire line including iced tea, milk, yogurt, pies, cakes, etc. Today we find ourselves at Oberweis Dairy Plant and corporate headquarters in North Aurora, Illinois. This is where all the magic happens. Jim Oberweis, chairman of the board for Oberweis Dairy, tells us about how the dairy all got started.
Well, Mike, that goes back a long way. My ancestors were farmers, and my grandfather had some extra cows, sold off some extra milk to his neighbors, and started doing that in about 1915. In 1927, he actually purchased a processing plant where they began to pasteurize milk and make it available for sale and to really expand as a business.
Jim Oberweis, chairman of the board for Oberweis Dairy, tells us about the history of their ice cream and their ice cream flavors.
Well, actually, in 1951, when we built a new processing plant in Aurora, my father began to make ice cream for the first time, and he always claimed that he did it because he couldn't afford to keep buying so much ice cream from my mother, who loved it and ate a lot. Obviously, it was a little more than that. We had extra cream and began to use that for the richest commercially produced ice cream in the world. To the best of our knowledge, this ice cream that we produce has a higher butterfat content than any other commercially produced ice cream in the world. That's one of the things that makes it taste good. Unfortunately, that doesn't really make it into a health food, but it really does taste great. Initially, we had probably a dozen or 15 flavors. That's gradually expanded over time. Today, we have about 35 flavors that we produce, but we only have about 18 that we produce all times year-round, and then we'll add another 3 or 4 or 5 seasonal flavors and rotate those throughout the year.
Bob Bernal, president and CEO for Oberweis Dairy, tells us about their ice cream and how much ice cream they produce.
Ice cream production really varies from season to season. During the summer months, we'll make about 6,000 gallons of ice cream a day, packaged in both 3-gallon bulks, quart containers. But during the winter months, the typical winter months, January and February, we'll be down to making about 1,000 gallons a day. Although this year, which is a little bit different than all prior years, we're actually going to be making closer to 2,000 gallons, as we were just given the opportunity to have our product available in the all of the 200 Jewel stores in the Chicagoland area starting in about 3 weeks.
Bob Bernal, president and CEO for Oberweis Dairy, tells us about where the ideas for their ice cream comes from and how they have a company do research for them.
Well, first off, the idea for the different ice cream flavors come from 3 different sources. The first source is our customers. We get suggestions, customer feedback on new flavors they'd like to see. The second source is actually from our employees, both those employees that are on the front line at our dairy stores, their experience, as well as employees back here in the home office. And finally, some of the ideas come from Jim and Joe. So it really is three different sources of ideas. So we take those ideas, and we have a partner called Danesco, which is one of the largest flavor companies in America. We don't have our own research facility on site. So we ask them to make the products for us. They'll make 6 or 7 different variations of the product. We'll bring it in, and we will do taste testing, taste panels, and we will find the one that's the closest or the one that we like the best, and then we'll go back to Danesco, and there'll be several iterations of refining the formulation to get exactly what we want.
As I mentioned, there are 41 Oberweis ice cream and dairy stores.
We have 41. Number 42 is scheduled to open within the next couple of weeks. So by the time this airs, we'll probably have 42 stores. And approximately 8 more scheduled to open during 2007, including entering for the first time the Detroit market with a few stores.
Jim Oberweis, chairman of the board for Oberweis Dairy, tells us how they determine a location for an Oberweis store.
Well, we obviously look for an area where there is a good population density. We look for an area that's average or above average in terms of family income. And we look for an area that has high traffic so that people will see our store and know that the store is there. In addition, we try to keep them at least 5 miles away from any other Oberweis store so they're not too close together and competing with each other.
As I mentioned, Oberweis has introduced a franchising program for their ice cream and dairy stores.
We just started offering franchises about a year and a half ago. Opened our first 4 franchise stores last year. The new one that I said will be opening in the next week or so will also be our 5th franchise store. So of our 41 stores that are open, 37 are company stores, 4 are franchise, and the 5th will be another franchise. We expect that most of the stores that we open in 2007 will be franchise stores. One of the problems, of course, is opening stores takes a lot of capital, and each one might take $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 of capital to get the store opened and built out and furnished and filled and so on. So we really had a choice in terms of how we raise capital. We decided that the best way to go is really to invite other people to be our partners in the business, to let them use their capital for their store and develop their store, and for us to make use of what we've learned over the last 30, 40, 50 years in terms of our ice cream store, to share that information with them. We actually put together what we call Oberweis University, where we will bring people in and we will train them in all kinds of things, from management skills to sanitation to public relations skills, everything that we can possibly help them with. And every new franchisee must actually work in one of our stores for several weeks to gain the skills and to gain the knowledge of what it's all about.
Bob Burnell, president and CEO of Oberweis Dairy, tells us the source of their whole milk product to make their famous milk.
The milk comes from right now 41 small farms, primarily located now in Wisconsin. We get about 90% of our milk from southeastern Wisconsin. The remaining, 5 to 7% comes from northeastern Illinois. That has changed in the last 3 years. 3 years ago, it was 90% from northern Illinois and only 10% from southern Wisconsin. But because the farmers have been selling their land and moving further west or north because of all of the development, we now get most of our milk from Wisconsin. These are small farms with 50 to 150 cows, 3rd and 4th generation dairy farmers.
We here at Mike Kira Presents had the great opportunity to tour the Oberweis Dairy plant. Okay, we're back, and Jim, tell us about what's happening here.
Sure. Mike, this is the bottle sanitizing system. Our bottles come in from our home delivery routes and the wholesale stores, and they go through this process that takes about 20 minutes to sanitize the bottles. And then as they come out of the sanitizer, we have a person visually inspect them to make sure there are no cracks in the bottles or objects in the bottles. They then come along this system into this machine, which is an automated or robotic inspection system that also looks for any cracks or foreign objects in the bottle. So we have a double process. We have both machine vision checking and the human checking as well.
Well, we're now at the fun part of the tour, the tasting part. And Jim, this ice cream tastes pretty good, and this is the vanilla ice cream we saw being made there. Can you tell us about what is in it? What's the ingredients?
Well, obviously the main ingredients are cream and milk and sugar and vanilla flavoring, and we use only the very finest vanilla flavoring that comes from Madagascar, which produces the very best vanilla. Vanilla prices escalated very sharply 2 or 3 years ago, and many companies switched to an artificial vanilla. We stayed with the pure, best vanilla made anywhere in the whole world. We do that with all of our ingredients. We also use pure cane sugar in our ice cream, whereas most ice cream manufacturers use high fructose corn syrup. We think there's a little difference in the taste and the quality, so we always stay with the very best.
For more information on Oberweis Dairy, please take note of your screen.